had several videos on my yarn stash lately. You know I love yarn. I think it's important to have certain parameters around what I spend. I have found there are a few things out there that just don't meet my goals. I guess you could say knowing what your goals or values are would be the primary step. Just knowing what you want to crochet and how you like to crochet. When I do spend money, I do want it to be things that reach my end result. Maybe that's a whole video all in itself that I should address. The first thing I don't spend money on, and some of you may cringe when I say this, I do not spend money on Lion brand mystery boxes or Santa sacks. I know, right? People love them, but they kind of hate them. For me, that is just not something that I am worth gambling on. I definitely understand some people really like the thrill of opening something different. I think sometimes, it's great if you, maybe feel a little bored or burn out shopping for yarn. This gives you the opportunity to not pick it out. It's almost like a gift. But what I have found by watching all of y'all's videos is that they tend to put in a lot of stuff that they're trying to get rid of. So it might be discontinued. It might be stuff that just didn't go over well. The infamous limited edition yarns. There's all sorts of stuff that go into those, and you might like some of it, which is awesome if you do. But generally speaking, it seems like they tend to be yarns that are less desirable. I know in Red Heart last year, like around Black Friday, Christmas time, Red Heart had some unbelievable, or maybe it was Yarnspirations, sorry. They had some unbelievable deals on some mystery boxes. Some people got like an entire box of Scrubby, which I like Scrubby, but it goes a long way, and if you're not making dishcloths, what's the point? I'm just not willing to spend money on yarn that I think might be a dud from the get-go. I am definitely not opposed to buying a curated mystery box. I think that is a great idea. I've bought them from another YouTuber before, and that's a great way to you have a much better chance of getting yarn that you know you're gonna like. It might be a certain size. It might be baby yarn. It could be a certain color. It could be curated in a way where you have a much greater chance of liking what you get, but it's still a surprise. It's still a mystery. It can still be fun. The next thing I don't spend money on, which may seem a little counterintuitive, is a small amount of yarn. So if I am looking for yarn clearance, or maybe it's thrifted yarn, it has to be enough for me to make a project on. Otherwise, it is a waste of money for me. So I have to be able to at least make a hat, in which case it has to be a yarn that I want to make a hat out of. And I do make a ton of beanies, and I love gifting beanies, and I love wearing beanies. So that is always an option, but it has to be something that is conducive for beanie making, or whatever it is that you like to make. But it definitely needs to be enough to make a project out of, because if I want to make a small throw or baby blanket, and I have 2 skeins, and it really just gets me a large granny square, I mean, that really isn't of use to me. So if that has proven to be a waste for me in the past, is buying small amounts of yarn. I need to buy yarn in enough quantities that I can make a project out of. And on the upside, if you have 8 skeins of a certain yarn and you just want to make a beanie, you could also make multiple projects. You could do a scarf, you could do coordinating things, just so that you have multiple things in a color that you love. So the second thing I don't waste money on is small amounts of yarn. Another thing I won't waste my money on, and this might be more of a yarn tuber thing as opposed to people in real life, I do not buy all of the colorways in a new yarn, or in any yarn line. I really am only buying yarn in colors that I love and I know I will enjoy making a project out of. I don't want to buy a whole bunch in a line just to see all the colorways, because again, it kind of goes against my last one where it might not be enough to make a project out of. Some yarns, in some lines, all of them really blend well together and go really good, and you could make a blanket or a cardigan or something out of them. But in my experience, a lot of what I see in different lines, the colorways just don't go well enough in my opinion, or they're very, very busy prints. You know, it could be a variegated or a striped or something, marl. And to me, having the different colorways with the different patterns in it is just something I don't particularly like. I do not buy all of the colorways in a yarn line. I might buy one or two that I really like, but that is about it. If you have been following my channel, you know I love a bargain, and you know I love thrifting for yarn. So I'm gonna kind of lump these two together here, but I'm not going to buy yarn just because it's cheap anymore. I used to do that when I was building my stash, and it led me to have some things that are still in here years and years later. I think we are all guilty of this. I have gotten so much better at leaving that yarn behind if I know it is not something that I can, number one, like before, make a project out of, or can't identify a need for it, or I'm not absolutely in love with it. You know, finding that dollar skein of yarn is fantastic, but you know, I had like some pale yellow yarn, and I'm like, what in God's green earth am I gonna do with it? You know, and I ended up trying to using it for a project and then finding out I didn't even like it, but it was $1, so I felt the need to buy it. And I am done with that. I am being so much more selective now that I have built my yarn stash up to things that I actually want to use and enjoy using. I am not picking something up just because it's a bargain. Another thing that I know a lot of yarn tubers do, and you know, I think we do it just to get out there and show you guys something new and something different, and just to try something different. But I do not spend a lot of money, or really any money, having to go out and buy the newest yarn. If I do, it's because I have marched myself to a Joann or Hobby Lobby. I want to touch and feel that yarn. I am not going to buy something, even if it's from a company I love, just because it's brand new. And I'm certainly not going to buy all of it. I just want to know that I'm going to like it. And, you know, that's a gamble. Again, I don't want to, you know, be unduly negative about the Lion Brand special editions, because I was tempted when they came out, and I've actually still never used one. People were super duper excited about those and bought a whole bunch, and then ended up hating it. You know, Lion Brand's a great company. They have great yarn, but this one just really seemed to hit the mark with pretty much almost everybody. It's really something to think about and not spend money on a brand new yarn until you see some reviews coming in, or until you actually touch it and feel it and know if it's something you're gonna like. The very last thing that I don't spend money on anymore. You see, a few of these have been trial and error. It's not like I just instinctively knew what not to spend money on. But the last thing that I don't spend money on would be fun novelty yarns that look amazing, that are very different and cool, like stunning, like rock star type of yarns. I have got some t-shirt yarn in my stash, and I have got some other K&C yarn where, I mean, it's absolutely stunning, and it's like roving, but it's like this little, like almost crinkly look, and some parts are really big and some pieces are really small. I have no idea what to do with either one of those, because number one, I didn't buy enough to do a project out of either one, and I can't figure out what to mix either one of these with. So, you know, the same can be said for a lot of times like really pretty boucle yarns. They can be tough to work with. The fuzzy hygge style yarns that I love. You know, if you're not a blanket yarn person, blanket yarn might fall into this category for you. There are tons and tons of flashy, fun, exciting yarns, but I found I just don't use them very much. I don't know what to do with them. It's not something for me. And I want to say that we all crochet so differently. We all have different needs, you know, with what we do. So it's just something where my things I don't spend money on are going to be different than the things you don't spend money on. And it doesn't mean that I'm right and you're wrong, or you're right and I'm wrong, because we have different end goals in sight. Keep that in mind. If there's something I put on my list that you absolutely love, let me know in the comments. Why do you love it? And maybe I'll learn to to enjoy those type of things, and vice versa. If there's something I didn't mention that you don't spend money on, I would love to hear what it is in the comments as well, because I'm sure there's things I have forgotten or things I don't know about. I have enjoyed talking yarn with you so much today, and I just want to thank you, especially if you stayed this far to the end. It has been a pleasure for me. Just thank you so much. If you have made it this far and you're not subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you would consider subscribing, so that we can talk more yarn. Until next time, bye guys.